In the name of the Holy Spirit, get the fuck away from me.
Hello there, friends, and welcome to the Paranatural Podcast. My name is Ben.
And I'm Liam Neeson.
Just don't get taken. Anyway, he's Jake. And we are so glad to have you with us tonight for take 2 of the Cisco Grove incident. Jacob, now that our technical difficulties are hopefully over, how the fuck are you tonight, buddy?
Fucking updates, man.
Yeah, everything had to update, and then everything was twitchy, and I had to swap out a mic cable, and it was a fucking mess, but luckily we weren't really that far into the episode when it happened, so...
Yeah, sounded like 1930s radio.
Yeah, it was rough. But here we are.
Here we are, take 2.
Here we are, take 2. And if you enjoy our show and our take 2s and our take 1s and our everything else, then don't forget to tell a friend about us, share the show with them, tell them how awesome we are. You guys have been doing a lot of that lately. We have seen records this month, and it's all thanks to you guys. We really do appreciate it. So thank you guys so much for everything you've done. Everybody's listened from the beginning, and welcome to all the new people.
Welcome, you beautiful people. This is the Paranatural Podcast.
I hope they know that I've said it already.
Well, you said the new people.
Well, yeah, you know.
What if they forgot? What if they have amnesia?
That could happen.
It's true. What were we talking about?
I'm glad you made a joke. Took the words right out of my mouth, buddy.
Who's joking?
I don't know. After this day, I fucking don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, no kidding. Sheesh.
So I guess you got anything to share with the people?
Yes. I have a tremendous amount of what's that called?
Joie de vivre?
That's not it.
Oh.
I don't even know what that is. Deja vu.
Deja vu. It's like deja vu. Oh, motherfucker. Okay, that was
Real
the technical
deja vu.
difficulty we were trying to deal with. I guess it's just going to be a thing today. So sorry about that if it comes through in the recording.
Yeah. It's a ghost.
It's something. I can't figure out what, but it's something.
Electronic ghost. Dildo Baggins was onto something.
He might have been. Anyway, you were saying deja vu all over again?
Yeah. Just had to show up when I said that too.
I guess. Well, anyway.
All right. On to the
Cisco Grove incident.
Yeah.
Alrighty.
You're fired.
So, this account takes place on September 4th in the year 1964.
It's a good year.
Which happened to be the Friday before Labor Day weekend.
It's a good day.
And on that particular day, Donald Shrum, Vincent Alvarez, and Tim Trueblood, who were friends and coworkers at Aerojet in Rancho Cordova. God damn. I don't speak Spanish. Or English most fucking time. They were on their way up to the Tahoe National Forest near a town called Cisco Grove, California, to do some deer hunting, some bow hunting. The three of them, well, I don't know about the three of them. Donald Shrum, who the story is actually about, was a welder at Aerojet. And because Aerojet had a lot of government contracts and they did a lot of work for NASA and shit, these guys had to have like a specific clearance, probably not like high clearance or anything like that, but that they were well-vetted people. And Donald actually welded on like fucking rocket housings and shit, which is kind of a cool job. So anyway, they go up to a place near Cisco Grove, and it was a spot where they had like hunted actually before. They were kind of familiar with the territory, the area. So they get up there, they find a spot to camp, and now Donald claims that the three of them were like avid and experienced outdoorsmen. Now, there are some parts of this story that I agree with that assessment, and there are some that I do not. So we'll get there. But once they get to camp, now remember, they left work, they went up there, it's Labor Day weekend, they're going to enjoy the long weekend of bow hunting. So they're probably kind of excited. You know, these guys apparently really liked bow hunting, and in 1964, if you liked bow hunting, you really liked bow hunting, because it was not a big thing back then. And the bows even were not like we have now with like sights and shit on them. We're talking like recurve fucking bows. This was some hardcore actual hunting.
Yeah.
So when they say they were avid bow hunters, if they're even trying to bow hunt, I fucking believe them.
Yeah.
But anyway, they get up to their spot, and the first thing they do is they set up camp, which no matter how excited you are to get into the woods, when you get to your spot, the first thing you need to do is set up camp. That's good, responsible outdoorsman shit. So once they get camp set up, they head off in different directions to hunt. Donald gets about a mile or a mile and a half from camp, and he finds a likely spot, and he sets up there to do his hunting. And he does what deer hunters do. He sits down, and he waits. Next thing he knows, it's getting dark. Now, he doesn't say exactly why it was like dark all of a sudden on his ass, but I got a couple of theories. So my first theory is that in the mountains, sunset is not exactly the same as in other places. And where they were hunting in the Tahoe National Forest is mountainous terrain. These guys are from the valley near Sacramento. They go up in the mountains to hunt. Well, in the mountains, depending on the topography, like it can get pretty dark pretty early depending on where you are. So if you're like in a canyon or a dip or something, and there's peaks or ridges or higher features between you and the sun starts to set, you wind up in the shadow of those peaks, and you're under the shadows of trees, and it's dark as fuck real early. So that's one theory. But my actual theory, my actual guess, if I had to put money on it, is that Donald Shrum fell victim to a disease that attacks many deer hunters. And this is a disease that sneaks up on the poor hunter kind of out of nowhere. 1 minute the hunter is just sitting, and he's still, and he's quiet, and he's listening to the song of the wilderness, enjoying the peace and tranquility of the forest. Then, out of nowhere, the sleepies. That's my theory. Pretty sure Donald just took a nap.
Both of those theories seem pretty viable.
Yeah, I mean, look, I've deer hunted a couple times in my life, and I took a nap, and about every fucking deer hunter I know has took a nap out there waiting around for some damn deer to wander by, so.
Well, not only that, but most of the time, it's a full day. Like, you wake up well before the sun's up. You want to set up, you want to do all that stuff so you don't scare away the deer, because the best time for hunting is early in the morning, late at night.
Mm-hmm.
Right when it's getting light and right when it's getting dark.
Well, I mean, you also got to consider these guys work that day.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, they left, they get up to the mountains. Like I said, it's quiet and it's tranquil. And I looked up the weather in Cisco Grove on this day.
Allegedly.
No, I looked it up.
Oh.
I really looked it up. And it was like 70 and sunny.
Oh.
And if you get that under a nice tree and there's a little breeze, dude, catching a nap is just gonna happen.
Yeah. Only a bird song turns into a lullaby.
Yep. So that's pretty much what I think happened. Well, anyway, he wakes up. You know, my theory, he wakes up. But anyway, no matter what, all of a sudden it's dark. Donald makes another of those good outdoorsman decisions and decides that it's a bad idea to go stumbling through the ding-dang woods in the fucking dark. And he's right about that. You should not do that.
That's true.
It's a real bad idea. Lots of bad stuff can happen if you're wandering around the woods in the dark. The least of which is you just, like, take a slightly wrong course and wind up fucking even more lost than you really are. You walk past your goddamn camp or something, and you're way the fuck off and gone somewhere else. You could trip and fall, get injured, minorly or severely, You know, you could twist an ankle, you could break your fucking leg, or if you're in the mountains, you could be strolling along and just Wile E. Coyote your ass right off a cliff that you didn't see because it's dark as fuck outside. So he did the right thing. And he's like, nope, just going to stay put and go back to camp in the morning. For reasons that he doesn't disclose. Old Donnie opts to spend the night pretending to be a fucking bird and climbs up a tree. So now, Jacob, you're an outdoorsy fella.
That's true.
Okay, I'm not as much of an outdoorsy fella, but pretty outdoorsy fella. Why did he get up the tree?
Well, to a non-avid outdoorsman, it might seem like a good idea because you don't know what can climb, but you're going to risk a whole lot more being up in a tree, especially if you're going to sleep, because you're going to fall out, break a leg, break a U. Bears like trees, big cats like trees.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they like warmer weather.
So that's pretty much my thought. Now, one thing I have not mentioned yet. So because he's a deer hunter and a bow hunter, the best place to bow hunt from is elevated. Now, most people use a tree stand for this, which is a platform, in case people don't know, listen to this, it's a platform that you attach like to a tree and you get up and you sit down in. But he's traveling, he's going somewhere else. So he apparently liked to get up in trees a lot to hunt. And he had with him it was a military web belt.
Okay.
Which, for those that don't know, is a really cool kind of belt design that's like webbed out nylon or something.
Yeah.
Maybe cotton back in the day. But anyway, it's a webbed... No, neoprene is more recent.
Okay.
This would have been like World War II era belt, Korean era belt, because it was an old military belt and it's 1964.
Okay.
But anyway, it's woven fabric, and the buckle on it like can attach anywhere along the length of the belt. It doesn't have holes in it, or anything like that. So whatever size you need it to be, it can be. And this particular belt was extra long, and he had it for the sole purpose of fucking seat belting his ass to a tree when he climbed up in it. He could wrap, It was long enough to wrap around the trunk of the tree and then around him, and he could cinch it down. So he's not going to fall out. But I am 100% with you on the predator thing.
So it's one of those old, well, not even old, but like one of the belts where you can scale tree. And so did he just like sit on a branch?
Yeah, apparently.
Okay.
That was like his way of hunting. He would climb up the tree, strap himself in, sit on a limb, wait for a deer.
Yeah, I was wondering if because I know back in the 60s, the big way to like climb a tree that had low branches was the little screw-in foot pedals.
Yeah, nope, he didn't have any of those.
Just climbed it with a belt.
Just climbed his goddamn tree and strapped himself in.
What a man.
Which, okay, cool. But I still don't know why you would choose to sleep up there. Just like fucking straddling a limb, fucking with like twigs and shit poking you in your ass, and then fucking tree bark sandpaper in your taint while you fucking try to move and shit all night long.
In your taint?
Yeah, sandpapering your taint.
I don't think he's gonna be a nudist up in the tree, Benjamin.
If you sit up there long enough, the fucking bark feels like it's sandpaper in your underballs, bud. Try to sleep up there. I mean,
when's the last time you sat a long time in a tree, though?
Like when I was a kid, I did it a lot.
Yeah.
And it fucking was uncomfortable. All right.
Your taint gets used to it.
Well, fuck. Maybe he had a fucking iron taint, but I'm not sleeping in the tree. Okay.
Iron taint.
I would get down on the ground and I would make a little fire and maybe pile up some fucking leaves or something, and I would take a nap down there.
Why do you think they call him Iron Taint Trump?
So anyway, to me, the tree thing does not make sense, but whatever. That's what he did. He climbed up a tree. So once Donald got up in his nest, he fastened his belt, right? And he just settled into playing World's Ugliest Parakeet for the night. So he's just sitting up there in the tree, hanging out, doing his thing. At around 10 o'clock, Donald noticed a bright light moving slowly just above the trees some distance away. At first, he thought it was a helicopter, and that Trueblood and Alvarez had reported him missing. But despite this being the only conclusion he could come to, it sort of didn't make much sense to Donald. Because apparently, the three of them had come to an agreement that if they were to get caught out too late, like Donald had, then they would do what Donald had been planning to do, and they would just hunker down and wait until morning to come back to camp. That was kind of something they all had talked about. So they should not have been worried about him until sometime the next day. So, with that in mind, Donald is looking at this light, thinking it's a helicopter, looking for him, but knows that his friend shouldn't have sent a helicopter. With all of that into consideration, my logic pretty much says, what the fuck, Donald? Why do you automatically think everything is about you? Like, he never once considered that there could be somebody else lost out in the woods or something that the helicopter could be looking for?
Why the hell would any helicopter look for another person? Come on.
I mean, really. Anyway. So anyway, since the world revolves around Donald Shrum, according to Donald Shrum, he unbuckles his safety belt, and with his bow in hand, he climbs down from his tree.
What a man.
At which point, he gathers up 3 piles of flammable woodland materials, places them nearby but separate from each other, and lights 3 signal fires.
Smart.
Now, you said smart, and I had the same thought, but this is another one of those things that, like, okay, for our listeners who do not know, this is actually serious. This is actually important. Because not everybody grows up like you and me, Jake. So they might actually not know this, and it could save somebody's fucking life. So listen up, guys. The international emergency sign for distress is 3 of any signal. That could be 3 shots fired, 3 blows on a whistle, 3 flashes with like a mirror in the sun or with a flashlight, 3 of literally anything that is deliberate and out of place in the wilderness can and will be recognized as a distress signal. So if you ever find yourself in that situation, and I think this applies to boats, it applies to woods, it applies anywhere. If you're ever in a distress situation and you need rescue, remember 3. 3 fires. It could be 3 cloths hung from a tree branch. Anything.
3 flares.
Yep, yeah. 3 flares. Anything deliberate. And 3. Remember that. And if you ever see, 3 fires, here 3 shots, here 3 whistles, in the wilderness, somebody needs help. So just in case people don't know that, now you do. Back to the fuckery. So Donald, from his perch, sees the light, now he's out of his perch. He's on the ground now. 3 fires lit. He sees that the light begins moving directly toward him. And he begins waving his arms and yelling. Yeah. Donald, nobody inside a running helicopter is going to be able to hear you, bro. Not from any significant distance anyway. They might see you. They're not going to hear you. Stop yelling. The light gets closer, and Donald thinks that all he's got to do is get to the chopper, and he's got to ride out of the woods, right? But when the light gets about 60 yards, remember that number, away from him, he finally realizes that whatever he is looking at isn't a helicopter.
180 feet.
He can't hear it.
180 feet.
180 feet. He can't hear it.
And this dude's around a lot of helicopters.
I don't know if he's around
aero stuff.
Helicopters, I'm just thinking, if you can't hear it, look at that silent fucking helicopter.
Yeah, always my first thought.
Like, really, bro? Really? Fucking Donald. I can hear Life Flight when it takes off, and that's like over a quarter of a mile away from my house with like traffic noise and shit going on outside. He didn't figure out this wasn't a fucking helicopter until it was 60 yards away. I don't think he was all that bright. Anyway, so once he finally clues into reality and comprehends that the noiseless flying thing is not a fucking helicopter, Donald gets a tad freaked out, and he tosses his bow up into a tree, and after using a nearby boulder for a boost, he chases his bow up the fucking tree.
Smart.
And it was at this point, reading the story, that I began to form a hypothesis about why he wanted to sleep in a tree. I think Donald Shrum was just a bit more in touch with the monkey ancestry in his DNA than the rest of us are. And because of that, his genetic instinct says the trees are safe, so when in doubt, climb, motherfucker. And once I had that thought, I couldn't help but wonder if he ever was tempted to start yeeting his feces while he was up there. But anyway.
I do that just as a pastime.
Anyway, Donald gets up the tree, he snags his bow, and pretty much just sets his ass back in the branches while he's watching this light. And yes.
Did he put the fires out?
No, those he left burning. He just shinnied his ass right up the fucking tree.
Okay.
He wasted no fucking time heading back up the tree. So he's up there, he's freaking out a little bit. He's like, what the fuck is this light thing? Somehow, and I can only assume that it was a force of habit, Donald actually managed to strap his ass back in the tree with the belt. And at this point, all he could really see of the object in the sky was a sphere of light that was about 8 inches in diameter. So 5.5 in tape measure inches. Anyway.
Well, there's the answer to that question.
Yeah, the guy's got that joke. The object was still moving, though, and when it flew in a 45-degree arc around the tree, he actually managed to get a good look at what it really was. What he had first thought was a silent helicopter, and then thought was a ball of light, was actually a huge cylindrical craft that was about 150 feet long.
Cylindrical?
Cylindrical. Cylinder-shaped?
Yeah.
You never heard of a cigar-shaped UFO?
Well, I was just about to ask.
Yeah. I would think something like that.
Okay.
Now, his 150 feet long estimate, I actually kind of give a lot of credit to. Because the dude welded on shit that was like 150 feet long all the time. Or roughly.
But you don't trust his 8 inches? Come on, Ben.
Well, come on, man. When we're talking about 8 inches, every guy fucking overestimates that, all right? Just saying.
My pinky's about 6.
Now, the light on the front of this cylindrical craft seemed to Donald now to be some sort of searchlight. And then he also saw along the side of the craft that there were 3 rectangular-shaped panels that were also kind of glowing faintly. This craft, which he later referred to as the mothership, came to a complete stop in midair, and the 3 panels opened.
See, that was going to be my guess.
A smaller, saucer-shaped craft with a bright light on top flew out of the middle opening and landed out of sight on a nearby ridge. At this point, the mothership moved off a little bit, like just kind of to the side, and just hovered there. Kind of like whatever was piloting it was keeping an eye on things. After a few minutes of silence, Donald began to hear the sound of footsteps crashing through the brush. They were, of course, coming toward him from the direction of the little saucer. Soon, 2 humanoid figures came into view. They were short, somewhere between 4 and 5 feet tall, and both were dressed in silvery spacesuits that included hoods that covered their heads and obscured their faces. They were also wearing something on their eyes that Donald said reminded him of welding goggles. Now again, for those who don't know, might have never seen them, welding goggles are like circular shaped goggles with lenses that are real fucking dark. Like so dark as to be virtually black.
Yep. So
just kind of picture that. These 2 figures. Yes.
Sorry. So, like, For those who don't know, if you've ever looked through like those eclipse glasses, like the glasses you're supposed to look through
Yeah.
for the eclipse, it's like darker than that.
Yes. By a noticeable amount.
Yeah, but like, because those are supposed to be extremely protective, and you
Mhm.
can't see shit when you're just looking around in them. But
No, you are absolutely blind unless you look at an extremely bright light.
yeah, like yep.
So yeah, that's
Okay.
what these little guys are wearing. These two figures came into view, and they were just kind of strolling along, and they were like looking at plants and shit, and sometimes they would like pick one up and they would look at it and doing shit like that as they came towards Donald's tree. For his part, Donald just sat in his tree, as still and quiet as he could, hoping that because he's hunting and dressed in camo and he's up a tree, they're not going to find him. Now, as far as he could tell, the beings didn't know he was up there and didn't actually seem to be looking for him. Because, like, they're looking on the ground, they're looking at plants and shit, right? The two short and shiny dudes kept coming closer, still picking up and looking at plants the whole time. Donald watches them approach and notices that they seem a tad wary of the still glowing embers of his signal fires. But they get around the fires and eventually they get up to Donald's tree, right underneath of where he was perched. They stop and look directly up at him. So,
Ahoy, Mr. President.
yes. So either the aliens were actually interested in the local flora, or these fuckers have just enough of a sense of humor to be fucking with Donald Shrum a little bit.
Now's your time for your what a dick button.
You dick!
There you go.
So, yeah, I don't know which one it is, but it's one of those two. The hunter in the tree and the diminutive galactic explorers spent way too much time just fucking looking at each other. Like the way Donald describes it, it was quite some time he was staring down at them and they were just looking up at him. On Donald's part, I guess it kind of makes sense that he was just staring down because he wasn't in possession of a ton of options besides just staring. The aliens, on the other hand, I feel like they did not have a plan in their abducting people manual for the situation they were trying to figure out how to handle things. They don't know how to get a dude out of a tree.
Especially strapped in.
Well, after a while of this just staring and the alien guys thinking and Donald just going, what the fuck am I going to do? Donald heard something else crashing through the woods. What appeared from the brush looked to Donald like a robot. It was the same height as the other two fellas, so about 5 feet tall. It looked to be made of a dull gray metal, had round reddish-orange eyes that flickered like fire, and a hinged jaw.
No shit, this one's an evil robot.
So, Jacob, does any of that description sound or feel familiar to you? If you put it in your head?
Grayish
Kind of
hue to it.
Dull gray metal.
Dull gray. Glowing reddish orange eyes.
Round reddish orange glowing eyes. And a hinged jaw.
Iron Giant?
You got it. That's exactly it. And there is a picture. And it looks a lot like the Iron Giant, like a 5 foot tall version of the Iron Giant. But I had to look it up because the minute I read that description, it hit my head. Then I saw the picture. I'm like, oh my fucking God, no way. The book that the Iron Giant is adapted from was not published until 4 years after this in 1968. So no, Donald Shrum did not base his description on the Iron Giant. The Iron Giant might have been based on his description, but he did not base his description on the Iron Giant. And yet, he very accurately described a 5 foot tall version of the Iron Giant.
An iron pygmy?
Anyway, the Iron Midget walked over to join its compatriots. On the way by, it reached into the nearest of Donald's barely smoldering fires and scattered what was left of the embers. The Tin Munchkin then stopped beneath Donald, and it too looked up at him. Then it raised a hand, touched the side of its face, and its hinged mouth fell open, and a puff of smoke came out. The puff headed straight towards Donald, spreading out as it rose, becoming something like a small, wispy cloud.
Oh, shit.
The cloud reached Donald's head, and he fell immediately unconscious.
Chlorine.
He guesses that he was not out long, because when he came to, the two alien guys were just starting to try to get up the tree, and they were doing it very poorly. Apparently, they're not good at tree climbing or looking around at their surroundings because neither of them had thought to do what Donald had done earlier and get a step up on the big-ass rock right next to the tree. Donald had managed to keep a hold of his bow and all 3 of the arrows he had brought along. I don't know why only 3. I suppose it's kind of enough if you're deer hunting, usually it takes 1 and then you gotta chase the fucker, but he had 3. So he decided to take a whirl at playing offense for a change.
Had a boy Donald.
He knocked an arrow and fired it at the aluminum pygmy. Now, I don't know about y'all listening, or you, Jacob, but I would not have wasted 1/3 of my ammunition on the dude in the plate fucking armor.
No, probably the thing's trying to climb the...
Yeah, for sure. Even with 100 arrows on hand, I would have started with the 2 that were more susceptible to having holes put in them.
Now, a little, a bit too rational thinking for that situation. Maybe he's like, this thing has the capabilities of knocking me unconscious at will with breath. So maybe he wants to get rid of that first, hope for the best, Because you ain't going to be able to fire arrows if that thing's still poofing smoke at you.
I mean, true. But if you're looking at something made of metal...
Yeah.
and you have a bow...
Ka-tink.
I am automatically just going to assume the bow's not going to do a lot to a robot. And I'm going to go for the squishy fellas and hope that the robot then just goes, well, I don't have orders anymore, so I don't know what to do. I'm going to go back to the ship now.
He should have brought the boulder up there with him.
I mean, that's real.
And dropped it on him.
That's real. So anyway, in my opinion, Donald picked the wrong fucking target, but his aim was good.
Ka-tink.
The arrow hit dead center, causing a flash of light and a shower of sparks that reminded Donald of what happens when you strike a welding arc.
Okay.
With the flash and the sparks, the stainless steel dwarf was knocked back a bit, and the other 2 hightailed it for the protection of some nearby bushes. Donald decided that this was the perfect opportunity to waste the rest of his arrows, and he shot the other 2 at the lead Lilliputian. That's about all I got left of those. Anyway.
That's good. That's good. I'm proud.
The arrows had the same effect on the second and third hit as they had on the first. Flash of light, shower of sparks, Mr. Roboto takes a step backwards. And that's about it.
And he says, Domo arigato.
Domo arigato. So yeah, it wasn't real fucking effective, I guess.
Yeah.
After a little bit, the extraterrestrial coonhounds realized that Donald wasn't shooting anymore, and from that bit of data, they extrapolated that he was most likely out of ammo. And they came out of hiding and took their positions right underneath Donald's once more. So they fingered him out pretty quick. Donald, it would seem, had been doing a little thinking of his own while the 3 alien Migos were taking cover. Apparently, what he was thinking about was the obvious and disproportionately large aversion to the remnants of his fires that they had earlier displayed. Now, despite the fact that Donny Boy has struggled with choosing the best of all available options throughout this incident, he does still seem to me to be a reasonably resourceful sort of fellow. And so, he had an idea for what to try next. Donald took off his baseball cap, which was, according to Donald himself, fairly well saturated with the petroleum-based hairstyling product that guys used to Elvis Presley and James Dean their heads back in the day, a product accurately called grease. So, by an undisclosed method that I assume is some sort of lighter, Donald lit his hat on fire. Given that the condition of the hat means it was essentially a lamp wick, it probably took only a second before it was well lit. Once it was, Donald threw it at them. The two aliens and the robot did not have much appetite for chapeau en flambe. That means hat on fire in French. And they immediately backed away. Oddly, in the same instant, the mothership, which had just been hovering the whole time, kind of off to the side, suddenly shot away at a high rate of speed, and it disappeared in less than a second.
Mm.
Eventually, the hat went out and the aliens came back. This time, they didn't fuck around. As soon as the robot one was in position, he touched his face and sent the smoke. Just like the first time, the second it reached Donald's face, he went straight to the land of unconsciousness. Also like the first time, the effect was seemingly very short-lived. When it wore off, the miniature Silver Surfers were just working on climbing up the tree. Donald grabbed something else that was nearby and flammable, lit it, and tossed it once more, making his tormentors fall back to a more secure position. And so it went for quite a while that night. Smoke, sleep, wake up, make fire, repeat. On and on, over and over, so many times that Donald began to see a need to conserve his flammable materials and started throwing other shit at them. Not his shit, like I thought maybe earlier, but other shit. And I mean, just anything he had, right? He was chucking pine cones and loose sticks, and he threw change at them.
Go away.
He threw his canteen, which was a metal one that was handed down to him from his grandpa.
Aw.
He threw whatever the fuck he could. At one point, he took his compass, wrapped it in some cloth, what he had left of some cloth, like from his shirt or whatever, lit the cloth on fire, and threw the whole wad into the bushes, hoping that he could catch the brush on fire and that even if it didn't make him go away, being a bigger fire, it might at least get somebody's attention. But that didn't work. All that happened from that attempt was that he lost his compass because for some reason, the two not robot guys were grabbing certain things that he was throwing at them. Not everything, but certain things. The compass was one of the things that they grabbed and took. The other was the change, the coins that he was yucking down at him. They were collecting them all. And apparently they were doing this very meticulously. Like when they would hit the ground, they would search until they found all of them. But then like shit like the canteen, they didn't give a fuck about. And in fact, Donald wound up recovering the canteen and had to repair it because it hit a rock or something and cracked. So he had to fix it. After hours of this, Donald had run clean out of stuff to throw. And the only things he had that would burn were his t-shirt and his jeans. Suddenly, a second robot guy emerged from the woods.
Oh boy.
It went directly and without hesitation over to the first one and stood face to face with it. There was some light flashes and electrical arcs and shit like that, which Donald took to be some sort of energy exchange between the two. Once that was over and the Wonder Twins were activated, the first robot dude opened its mouth and sent a significantly larger cloud of smoke up to Donald. Again, it was lights out, but this time for a much longer period of time. When he woke up this time, he was dangling from the tree by his belt, and the light of pre-dawn was beginning to work its way across the sky, and all the beings were gone. Eventually, Donald got down out of his tree and made it back to camp, where he told his friends what happened, and learned that Alvarez had seen the mothership the night before, but only for a few minutes before it dipped out of sight. The three men went back to the scene of the encounter to look around for any sort of physical evidence, which they did not find. They also could not find a single coin that Donald had thrown. The fucking aliens got every last one.
They're Dutch.
What they did find were 2 of Donald's arrows, and Donald said he found the 3rd one on a subsequent hunting trip. When Donald got home, he told the story to his family, and his mother-in-law blabbed it to an astronomer friend of hers because she thought he could help, I guess. The astronomer immediately made a call of his own and ratted them out to the Air Force. Someone from McClellan Air Force Base called Donald and set up a meeting between him and 2 officers. The meeting place was at an empty house in an off-base Air Force housing development, which, that shit's not suspicious at all. The officers listened to the story and took possession of the 2 arrowheads, one of which had some metal shavings stuck on it from the robot. After that, they tried to tell Donald that the event did not occur as he remembered it, and that there were perfectly logical explanations for what did actually happen.
Fair.
One of their explanations was this old chestnut. It was a group of Boy Scouts playing a prank on him.
That sounds familiar.
Doesn't it?
Yeah. It sounds like a Bigfoot experience you told us
Or an
about.
alien experience that we talked about at one time. Anyway. After this, from time to time, some UFO researcher or another would find the reports that were put out by Dr. J. Allen Hynek and NICAP and would come asking questions. For 40 years, whenever that would happen, Donald would tell the story anonymously because he didn't want to lose his clearance to work at Aerojet. Once he retired from Aerojet, 40 years after this incident, he could no longer be threatened, and he came forward to tell his story and put his name to it. There you go. That's the Cisco Grove incident, folks.
I like it. I would have definitely shot in the squishies first, though.
Yeah, same. I mean, okay, me being me, and maybe this is just because I'm significantly too fat to climb a tree. I mean, maybe if it was like an easy tree to climb. But first off, I would not be sleeping in no goddamn tree. Not doing that. Second, when I saw the mothership, even if I wanted to get the fuck out of Dodge or hide or whatever, I'm not going up the tree. At that point, my original, we need to stay in the woods because it's safer, goes right out the fucking window. I would rather be lost in the woods than abducted by fucking aliens, okay? No matter how many jokes I make on Facebook. I really would. I would not want to, be abducted by aliens. I'm going to fucking take off into the woods and take my chances. I'm not going up the tree.
I'll just shoot the aliens.
I mean, if I have to stick around for some reason, yeah, I'm shooting the squishy guys.
Or huck a boot at them.
He might have already done that. He hucked about everything else he had.
Did he try lighting himself on fire and jumping out of the tree at them?
Die a man's death. That might have been his next move. I mean, he was up
Probably
there.
would have paid off.
Up there with nothing left but his jeans and his t-shirt, so might as well.
Yep.
Fuck it. All right, Jacob, anything else?
Donald Trump came forward with this story. What year?
Donald Shrum.
Oh, Shrum.
Not Donald Trump.
I was going to say. Donald Shrum.
I don't think Donald Trump ever worked at Aerojet.
And
He might have tried to buy it once, but he didn't work there.
I don't really. That's why all my fire jokes, and you didn't laugh at any of them. I was wondering why.
That's probably
The
why.
Apprentice?
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense now, does it?
All right. Donald Shrum.
Donald Shrum.
He came forward with this story over 40 years, so
it would have been 2002-ish, 2003, which the story was out there.
Mm-hmm. But nobody knew who told it.
The Air Force guys, remember, this is Project Blue Book days. Go back and see our episode on Project Blue Book. They got a hold of J. Allen Hynek and had him take a report, a full report, which from time to time people would get a hold of. So the people knew his name, they knew the story, it just wasn't public.
Right.
He would tell it anonymously. It was printed anonymously. But he put his name to it after his retirement from Aerojet around 2002.
I mean, there's definitely some things that make me think it's embellished.
Such as?
Any person who knows arrows, they fly pretty fast, but like you have to be a damn good marksman to take down a deer with them.
Mm-hmm.
A deer, flesh, shooting at metal, you're not going to take it down. You see something in silvery clothing, you're going to shoot it. If you want to kill something, you're going to shoot what you can kill.
So, as much as we made the jokes and I'm making the jokes, I'm still probably with you on that. I'm also going to say not everybody is me and you. And you might have actually been onto something with your original assessment. The robot was more dangerous.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now that I can see at least the first arrow that he fired at it.
Yeah. But like
After
Okay.
that, though, like if it didn't do anything but make it kind of back up a step or two, I'm not wasting any more time on that.
yeah, you get some sparks. That's probably all you're going to get with what he called a perfect shot. So why not use your other 2 arrows for 2 more perfect shots that's actually going to do something?
Right. That's my take on it.
Yeah.
But he doesn't say what he was thinking by doing that. And he's no longer alive, so we can't ask him.
And the fact that like so the facts that I think it did happen is like I imagine aliens on a pretty fresh planet are gonna be curious as to like the wildlife, what the beings there have.
Mm-hmm.
So like the coins, they're all shiny. Compass. It's gonna be something for them to study. Like that one UFO story you told, or abduction story, sorry. The farmer.
Antonio V.S. Bolas.
Yeah. He tried to snag something because I doubt it was for a souvenir. It could be studied and make his.
Well, he did it to try and prove his story.
Yeah. And what would have happened? The scientists here or the military would have studied it.
Yeah, probably. I mean, I get it. Like, they snatched some stuff, you know, kind of cultural study type stuff.
Yeah.
You know, I get that part. The fact that they didn't take everything is kind of weird. They were kind of selective about it.
Yeah. But perhaps the robot had like I don't know, could detect like what elements and like minerals, whatever is in something.
Mm-hmm.
So like I'm guessing magnets for the compass, something. Got nickel, copper.
Yeah, maybe.
Back then some silver was in coins too.
Yeah, still. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, maybe you might be onto something.
Could be a geological research type deal.
And you can tell, I don't know if a lot is the right word, but there are culturally significant things on coins. We study coins from the ancient past to learn some things about the culture of the people. So
Yeah.
Now, whether or not an alien would know that, that's kind of up in the air. But
robot, maybe
you know,
it's just a walking computer. Super high tech computer.
I mean, maybe. Hard saying. We
It
don't know who
mates
these
with
guys
electric. Huh?
We don't know who these guys were or what the fuck they were doing.
They weren't goblins, were they?
Who knows? They were wearing hoods, maybe hiding their ears.
Yeah. I mean, there's some that I believe, some I don't believe.
That's fair. I just like this story.
Yeah. I just can't get past shooting a metal thing 3 times.
Yeah, that was pretty stupid.
It really was.
That was pretty stupid.
Especially with how much they came back.
Yeah, that was pretty stupid.
Or like, I don't know, let them start climbing and then whack them with recurve bows are pretty big.
They make good whacking sticks.
Yeah.
And if
back
you ain't
then
got
it
no
would've
more
been-
arrows because you fired them at the fucking robot, well, you got a whacking stick.
Back then it would have been like a Fred Bear or a Herder's Ink.
Yeah,
They make solid wood.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
can smack
it would've
something
been a
pretty good with
decent
it.
whacking stick. Yeah.
pretty good whacking stick.
At least enough to scare him away. Be like, ow, headache.
Right.
Gone.
But who knows what he was thinking?
Yeah.
He doesn't say.
Yeah.
We can't ask him.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. That's it for my
Alrighty then.
All right.
Then I will say, ladies and gentlemen, if you enjoy our show once again, please share it with a friend. Leave us a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts. Those are the fastest ways to help us grow like you've been doing lately, and we appreciate. So thank you very much. Until next time, good night.
Mwah. Love you guys. Sweet dreams. Good night.